The sun dipped below the horizon, bathing the monastery in hues of gold and crimson. Birds chirped softly, heralding dusk. I approached the Buddha, my heart heavy with unanswered questions and doubts. His serene presence exuded a calm that seemed untouched by the world's turbulence. Master, I began, hesitantly, why does suffering cling to us, even in moments of peace? The Buddha gazed at me, his eyes like still water reflecting infinite depths. Suffering, he said, arises from clinging and aversion, born of ignorance. His voice was gentle, yet it carried the weight of profound truth. Come, let us sit, he said, motioning to a quiet spot beneath the Bodhi tree. The rustling leaves above us seemed to whisper ancient secrets. A symphony of nature. Once, the Buddha began, there was a young warrior, celebrated for his strength and valor in battle. His tone was even, his words vivid, painting pictures in the mind. The warrior sought immortality, desiring eternal victory and unending glory. I listened intently, my thoughts intertwining with his tale. Seeking hidden meaning, the warrior climbed a treacherous mountain, the Buddha continued, in search of a hermit reputed to hold the secret of immortality. The story unfolded with deliberate rhythm, each word a pebble dropped into the still pool of my understanding. The hermit, wise and old, greeted the warrior with a question. The Buddha said, pausing for effect, why do you seek immortality? Asked the hermit, his voice like the wind through ancient canyons. The warrior replied. The Buddha continued, saying, I fear death, for it is the end of all things I hold dear. His words resonated deeply, mirroring fears that often lingered in my own heart. The hermit smiled and said, death is not your enemy. It is clinging to life that makes death a foe. The Buddha's voice grew softer, inviting reflection, as though the story's essence needed space to breathe. The warrior, confused, asked, how can I overcome this fear that binds me like an iron chain? The Buddha's tone shifted, as if drawing me deeper into the narrative's core. Release the chain, the hermit replied. See its impermanence and its lack of substance. I nodded, the warrior's journey mirroring my own search for freedom from suffering. The Buddha turned to me, his gaze unwavering. Do you understand, my friend? He asked, his question as profound as the story itself. Master, I replied, the mind clings to what it believes will last forever. Yet all things are transient. The Buddha smiled faintly, his approval a gentle nudge toward clarity. Indeed, he said, the root of suffering lies in attachment and aversion. His teachings flowed like the river nearby, ceaseless and unyielding, yet calming and life-giving. You see, he continued, the mind, untrained, grasps for permanence in an impermanent world. Master, I asked, emboldened by his approval, how can one train the mind to see clearly and overcome its chains? The Buddha leaned forward slightly, his voice lowering as if to impart a secret. First, you must observe the mind, he said, as a fisherman observes the river, seeking patterns and movements. His metaphor was simple, yet it carried the complexity of the human experience. Through mindfulness and meditation, you untangle the knots of desire and aversion. The Buddha's words felt like balm on the wounds of my restless mind. But Master, I ventured, is not the mind like a wild horse, resisting the reins of discipline? The Buddha nodded, acknowledging the struggle. Indeed, he said, but even the wildest horse learns with patience, consistency, and compassion. His response was an invitation to persist, a reminder of the necessity of practice. The moon began its ascent, casting silver light upon the world, as if illuminating the Buddha's teachings. The path, he said, is not easy, yet every step you take transforms the journey and yourself. His words held a paradoxical truth. Change was both the obstacle and the key to liberation. Master, I said, The world is filled with distractions that pull the mind away from clarity. How does one remain steadfast? The Buddha gestured toward the night sky, where countless stars shimmered. The mind is like the stars, he said, shining despite the vast darkness. His metaphor lingered, leaving space for interpretation and understanding. To remain steadfast, he continued, one must cultivate faith, effort, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. Each word seemed to unlock a door within my consciousness, revealing new dimensions of the path. Master, I asked, what role does faith play when doubt clouds the mind like a storm? His answer was immediate, as though anticipating my question. Faith, he said, is not blind belief but trust in the process and the teachings. The wind carried his words, weaving them into the fabric of the night. Doubt, he added, is a natural companion on the path, but it need not be a hindrance. I pondered this, realizing that my doubts were not barriers but signposts for inquiry. Observe your doubt, the Buddha said, and see it for what it is. A thought, impermanent and insubstantial. His instruction was clear yet profound. A lesson in the art of perception. The night deepened, the silence amplifying the Buddha's voice, which now seemed to resonate from within me. My friend, he another day. The sun rose gently, casting a golden hue over the tranquil monastery. The Buddha gathered his disciples under a large, ancient banyan tree. Just as the leaves sway with the wind, he continued, so must we let our emotions flow freely without resistance. His disciples exchanged thoughtful glances, their minds weaving the threads of his teachings into their evolving comprehension. The grieving woman lifted her face, a flicker of hope igniting in her tear-streaked features as she absorbed his guidance. Master, she asked, how can I find peace when the world around me feels shattered and broken? The Buddha spoke with measured grace, his tone steady, yet carrying the weight of lifetimes spent imparting wisdom. His voice was soothing, each word deliberate. The disciples leaned forward, eager to absorb his teachings. The mind, like a river, flows ceaselessly, often turbulent and unclear, the Buddha continued. It carries thoughts, emotions, and desires, shaping our experiences of the world. One disciple, Subhuti, raised his hand respectfully. Master, how can we calm the turbulence of the mind? He asked with sincerity. The Buddha nodded, acknowledging the question. Subhuti, your question reflects the struggles of all who seek peace, the Buddha responded with warmth. The Buddha extended his hand toward the river visible in the distance. Observe the river, he instructed. The disciples turned their gaze, watching the water flow over rocks and pebbles. The river is restless when disturbed by external forces, the Buddha explained. Yet, it finds its calm when it follows its natural course. Likewise, the mind is disturbed by desires, aversions, and ignorance, the Buddha continued. To calm it, we must practice mindfulness. His words resonated deeply, inspiring quiet contemplation among the disciples. Mindfulness is the anchor that steadies the mind in the present moment, he elaborated. The Buddha paused, allowing his words to sink in. Through mindfulness, we observe the mind without judgment, understanding its transient nature, he said. This understanding begins to dissolve the illusions that bind us to suffering, the Buddha added. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves above, as if nature itself listened intently. The Buddha resumed, let me tell you a story to illustrate this truth. His disciples listened with rapt attention, their hearts open to his teachings. There was once a young prince who sought to conquer his restless mind, the Buddha narrated. The prince turned to worldly pleasures, hoping to find contentment, the Buddha continued. He indulged in luxuries, believing they would fill the void within. Acceptance does not mean passivity, he said, but the willingness to engage with life as it is, not as we wish it to be. The villagers bowed deeply, their gestures reflecting gratitude and reverence for the wisdom imparted by the enlightened teacher. Eventually, the prince met a wise hermit who lived in the forest, the Buddha recounted. The hermit, serene and radiant, inspired the prince to seek wisdom. The path ahead wound through the hills, the horizon promising new encounters, questions, and opportunities to live the teachings. The air grew cooler as the sun dipped low, casting the hills in hues of amber, gold, and soft violet shadows. The Buddha walked in silence, his presence radiating peace, his pace deliberate, mirroring the constancy he had taught. Each step marked the unfolding of a journey, an acceptance of the unknown ahead, a surrender to the flow of existence. And as the stars began to emerge, the teachings of the day lingered like an echo, alive within their hearts. Another day, another step in the journey led the Buddha and his disciples to a serene monastery in the mountains. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine, and the distant hum of a river reached their ears. Within the monastery walls, a monk sat alone, his posture rigid, his gaze fixed on the horizon beyond the mountains. Through mindful observation, we gain insight into the nature of our minds, he continued. We begin to see the impermanence of thoughts and emotions that once consumed us. Brother, he began, you have chosen solitude, seeking wisdom in the stillness apart from others. What have you found in this isolation? The monk turned his gaze to the Buddha, his voice soft but tinged with uncertainty. His words carried the weight of truth, igniting hope in the hearts of his disciples. The Buddha turned toward Ananda, his closest companion. Ananda, tell us what you observe when you sit in mindfulness, he invited. Ananda bowed respectfully, his voice calm and steady. To navigate life's transitions, the Buddha continued, we must see beyond ourselves, embracing the interconnectedness of all existence. A young disciple, curious and eager, asked, Master, how can we balance our individuality with the need for connection to others? The Buddha turned to him, his gaze steady, his response carrying the weight of profound understanding. Individuality, he explained, is not lost in connection but enriched by it. Like a single thread woven into a tapestry. He picked up a strand of straw, holding it aloft, its simplicity a metaphor for the interconnectedness he described. This straw, he said, may seem insignificant alone, but together with others, it forms the strength of a woven basket. The disciples murmured in agreement, their own lives offering countless examples of strength derived from unity. The disciples murmured in agreement, their understanding deepening. Through mindfulness, we become the masters of our minds, not its slaves, the Buddha emphasized. He reached down, taking a handful of soil, its texture coarse yet nourishing, a reminder of life's shared foundations. Like the soil beneath our feet, he continued, we are bound by a shared existence, supporting and nurturing one another. Birds sang melodiously, welcoming the morning as dew glistened on the leaves. The Buddha walked calmly toward us, his steps deliberate and grounded, as though each step carried the weight of wisdom. We bowed deeply as he approached, and he motioned for us to rise. Today, he began, I will speak of freedom. His voice was like a steady river, each word flowing with intention and purpose. Freedom is not found in possessions or status, he continued, but in the liberation of the mind. One disciple, a merchant named Rajat, stepped forward and bowed respectfully. Master, he asked, what binds the mind and prevents liberation? The Buddha regarded Rajat with a gaze that seemed to pierce through illusion. The mind is bound by ignorance, craving, and aversion, he replied, his tone firm yet compassionate. Allow me to tell you a story, the Buddha said, his eyes briefly closing as though calling forth the tale. There was once a bird, born in a gilded cage. unaware of the sky beyond its bars. The disciples leaned in, their attention riveted to the unfolding parable, its simplicity revealing profound truths. The bird sang beautifully, the Buddha continued, but its song was a lament, though it did not know why. His words painted the scene vividly, the caged bird's sorrow resonating deeply within us. One day, a sparrow landed near the cage. Speaking of vast skies, freedom, and boundless flight, the caged bird longed for freedom, the Buddha said. But it feared the unknown beyond the cage. He picked up a pebble, its surface smooth, worn by the river's patient and persistent embrace over countless years. So too, he explained, are we shaped by our relationships, each encounter polishing and refining the essence of who we are. The disciples knelt by the water, their reflections merging with its currents, a living illustration of interconnectedness. The Buddha's words flowed through them, resonating deeply, guiding their thoughts toward a fuller understanding of life's transitions. The sparrow then said, freedom requires trust and the courage to leave what is familiar behind. The bird, trembling, took a leap of faith, the Buddha said, and for the first time, it felt the wind beneath its wings. The parable ended, and silence filled the air, allowing the lesson to sink into our hearts. Master, Rajat asked, how can we, like the bird, leave the cage of ignorance behind? The Buddha smiled, his expression a blend of compassion and determination. Through understanding and practice, he said, you can unlearn the habits that bind you. The Buddha continued, ignorance is not the absence of knowledge but the illusion of permanence and self. His words dismantled the illusions we carried, exposing the roots of our attachments. To see clearly, he said, you must meditate, observe, and cultivate wisdom. One of the younger disciples, a boy named Kiran, hesitantly raised his hand. Master, he said, why do we fear letting go of what binds us? The Buddha turned to Kiran, his gaze as gentle as moonlight. When faced with discord, he said, remember that harm to another is harm to oneself. For we are not separate. His words lingered, their truth undeniable, yet challenging to fully grasp in the complexity of daily life. Consider the tree, the Buddha said. It sheds its leaves, trusting the cycle of seasons, knowing new leaves will grow. His metaphor was simple, yet profound, encouraging us to embrace change as a natural part of life. Another disciple, named Anjali, spoke next. A villager approached, holding a broken basket, her face etched with worry. Master, she said, my basket is ruined, and I cannot carry water for my family. The mind clings to pain, he said, because it confuses familiarity with safety. His words struck a chord, resonating with our own struggles to let go of pain and embrace healing. To release pain, he said, you must see it clearly and understand its impermanent nature. His teachings, though challenging, offered a path toward liberation. Step by step, repair the basket, he advised gently. And while you do, let the act become a meditation on patience and perseverance. The villager bowed deeply, her heart touched by the wisdom in his simple, practical guidance. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.